What I've done here is I've copied out the table from question 15, so I'm going to guide you through how to do this question. The difference here from everything that we've done so far is that rather than having a table of data where we have an exact number of lengths with how many people swam that number of lengths, what we've got is we've got a range of lengths. So for example, 5 people swam between 5 and 9 lengths, 10 people swam between 10 and 14 lengths. What we need to do is copy out our table from the question, but we need to leave a little gap in between the lengths and the frequency. By the time we get to the last row, which is probably the easiest one for us to consider, one person swam between 25 and 29 lengths, but we don't know exactly how many lengths they did swim. Did they swim 25, 26, 27, 28, 29? We don't know. We just know that our tally chart has shown that one person has ticked that particular range of lengths. So when we're trying to work out the mean, we don't know for sure exactly how many lengths that person swam. So the best thing we can do is we can say, let's estimate how many lengths they swam by taking the midpoint of these values, 25 and 29. So the midpoint of 25 and 29 is actually the number 27. So that person probably swam 27 lengths, or even if they didn't, it's a good estimate. Maybe they swam a bit less, or maybe they swam a bit more, but it's a good estimate. And in the same way, we can say the same for all of the other rows. These 5 people, some of them would have swam 5 lengths, some would have swum 6. But on average, let's say they all swam 7, slap bang in the middle of 5 and 9. And we'll do the same for all these others. So if you're wondering how I'm working these things out, let me just take this number 27 for example. The way I've worked that out is I've said let's take the 25 and the 29 endpoints, add them together and divide by 2. And that's going to give us the mean of these values, the minimum and the maximum values. And that is the point that's exactly halfway in between both of them. So what we've worked out here is actually the midpoint. And I'm going to label this column X. My frequency column, as before, I'm labelling F. And we know that the total number of people that were taking part in this was 30 people, and we can just check that by doing the sum of the frequency column. 5 plus 10 plus 11 plus 3 plus 1 is equal to 30. Okay, now, just as we did before, we did X times F in a column, but this time our X is our midpoint rather than the number of lengths. So we're going to do another column on the end, X times F. So let's work it out. We've got 7 times 5, so that's 35. 12 times 10, that's 120. 17 times 11, that's 187. 22 times 3, 66. And finally 27 times 1, which is 27. And just as we did before, we also need to work out what the sum of this XF column is. So when we add all of those together, we get 435. So I'm adding together 35, 120, 187, 66 and 27 to make 435. And just as we did before we had the group frequency data, when we just had the exact number of lengths, we took this sum of XF and divided by the sum of F. So let's do that. So to finish off, we're going to do the sum of XF over the sum of F. So we get 435 divided by 30, which makes 14.5. And the important thing to note is that this is the estimate of the mean. There is no need to round this to a whole number. We say that the estimate mean number of lengths swum was 14.5. We don't need to say that that rounds to 15. Or they didn't quite make it to 15 so that it's 14 lengths were swum. The estimate comes because we actually estimated this midpoint column here. This midpoint column was our estimate. We weren't quite sure, were we, whether 25 lengths were swum, 26, 27, 28 or 29. So we made our estimate there. So that's where the estimate comes from. It doesn't come from rounding our answer at the end. So the answer at the end is 14.5 and that is our estimate of the mean.